of the day. So we have Professor Dr. Balchandra Luitel. Sir, namaskar and welcome to this program.
Yeah, namaste. Yeah.
Namaskar.
So
So
am I the
similarly,
presenter? I think I'm not the presenter.
no, sir.
There are two
Good, our
presenters.
good, sir, our good. So similarly, we have Professor Dr. Manaprashad Wagli. Sir, namaskar and welcome to this
Thank
webinar.
you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir. And then we have Assistant Professor Binod Prashad Panda, Acting Head of STEAM Education. Sir, namaskar and welcome, sir.
Namaste, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. And then we have our facilitators, Indra Mani Shrestha. Sir, namaskar and welcome, sir.
Namaskar, namaskar.
And we have two presenters for today, Ms. Pritika Basnet and Ms. Rabina Mahajan. Both of them are MPhil scholars of STEAM education. Kusod, welcome both of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. So they will be sharing about design thinking, a STEM approach to solve the problems. And once again, welcome all the participants to this program. So let me share the program schedule with all of you. We will start with opening remark and go for the main presentation. That main presentation will be followed by discussion and question and answer session, and then we'll go for the closing remark. So we will be spending our 1.5 hour time together for this webinar. So to start the webinar formally, I request our Professor Balchandra Luitel, sir, for his opening remark. Over to you, Bal, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. My video is not working for some reason. It worked earlier, but now it's not working. Anyway, good evening, all of you, our colleagues from STEAM Education Department and students, scholars, and also participants in this webinar. We have been running this type of webinar, especially after the commencement of pandemic, and we have been running under different themes. And once we started a STEAM education program, this has been something new to the community of teacher educators and also people in the society who have interest in education. Okay, so in order to share our ongoing learning, our research, our other activities like internship activities, and also in-class activities as well, like the one that you are sharing today, our friends are sharing today, these activities help us to communicate with the society, community, and the stakeholders, educational stakeholders. So these ideas may not be new to many of you, but in terms of literature, you might have read, you might have watched the video on YouTube, and design thinking has been pretty popular among educators, especially those who have accessed reading materials and other resources. But how do we do in our classroom, and how do we envisage this idea to happen, to take place inside Nepali classroom? So this is our approach. This is what our friends have done in terms of their learning, in terms of their preparation of the implementation of this idea inside the classroom in their professional context. So without further ado, I would like to stop here saying that this webinar series will be continued, and this is also will be run by students, not just by the department. Previously, we, of course, department will always be facilitating these outreach activities. This is one form of outreach activity of the STEAM education department. This will be run after today and onward will be run by our friends, our MPhil, MAd, and PhD fellows, and this will continue to share and to communicate about emergent themes in STEAM education. So with this, I would complete my so-called, I would call it so-called opening because it has already been open. Opening remarks that has been said. And over to you, Saritaji. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your very informative and insightful opening remark. Definitely for scholars, it is a platform to communicate our knowledge and things we learn from the university to shed light upon the communities and societies. So, all right. So now we are at the heart of our webinar. I would like to hand over this platform to our Pratika ma'am and Ravina ma'am for their presentation over this design thinking. Both of them are scholars and they will be presenting their presentation. Over to you, ma'am, Pritika ma'am and Ravina ma'am.
And I think after the presentation, there will be question answer session. So Kati time both opening, I think we should say Kati ho. Any,
Yeah,
if
so
you,
we have 30 minutes of time for both of them.
presentation.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Thank you, Sarita ma'am. Good evening, everyone, respected teachers, my dear classmates, colleagues, and dear participants of this program. Thank you for taking time out and being here today. And as Bowser already told, we will be running question and answer session at the end of this webinar. However, you are free to post your thoughts in the chat box. We will respond it later. And this presentation is entitled Design Thinking, a STEAM Approach to Solve Problems. And this presentation has been prepared by a group of 4 members. However, only two of us are presenting today. And myself is Pritika Basnet, and another member who is presenting this webinar is Ravina Maharjan ma'am, and the other group members are Puskar Bohora and Ramesh Sapagai sir. Next slide. And obviously, we have the objective of this session. The main objective of this session is to help teachers learn about design thinking as a pedagogical approach, see its value, and have the confidence to bring it to their classroom. Next slide. Okay, this is the outline of the presentation. And the first one is the introduction to STEAM education, introduction to design thinking, steps to conduct design thinking, and examples of design thinking. And for now, I will be explaining the first 3 agenda, and Ravina ma'am will be in the first 3 agenda. We will go through the theoretical part, and after that, Ravina ma'am will explain the fourth agenda. Example, we will have an example of TT regarding the latest issues of assessment. So without delaying, I will embark on our agenda. So first, we will have an overview of STEAM education, how it's a brief overview, I would say.
Pritika ma'am,
Yes.
your voice is, like it's breaking. Can you just try to fix that audio? Headphone निकाल्नु भयो पनि हुन्छ audio.
Is it clear now?
Yes, ma'am, it's more clear now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sarita ma'am. Okay, I will continue. When we look at the title of today's presentation, it consists of 2 concepts. The first one is STEAM approach, and the second is design thinking. So at the first, we will discuss STEAM education briefly, and then relate it to design thinking, how it is related with, how design thinking is related with STEAM education. So first of all, STEM and STEAM are 2 ideas. Like the idea and concept of STEM education was prioritized by National Science Foundation in 1959 AD. Back then, it was integrated as a means to develop our world economically and technically. Meanwhile, STEAM and related research are globally driven to boost human capital, enlarge the high-skill group capable of research and innovation, which enhances national productivity, development, societal well-being, and economic competitiveness. So back then, STEM was just focused on economic competitiveness and national productivity. But however, the other concern is sustainable development. Many global conflicts and ethical dilemmas have been aroused with the unsustainable nature of STEM education. As a result, we are entering into the new geological era, Anthropocene, where all living organisms are challenged by the devastating effects of climate change. Next slide, please. So the main objective of, there are several reasons to integrate arts in STEM subjects, STEM disciplines. The main objective is to mitigate the effects created by STEM disciplines. And this was discussed by Taylor and Taylor 2019 and another Taylor 2020. In addition, it also helps to harness a sense of creativity and inquiry to conventional STEM education. And it also fosters learner with lifelong learning ethics, deep understanding, and empathy. So I have highlighted here certain words with the red ink, so that I can relate it to the design thinking model. Here I have highlighted creativity, inquiry, deep understanding, and empathy. So these qualities of STEAM education has been integrated in design thinking. Design thinking addresses all these qualities of STEAM education. Next slide. So moving further to the design thinking, it is an approach to learning that focuses on developing students' creativity, confidence, and empathy as well. Next. It is also a non-linear, iterative, and human-centered process that helps to reframe problems as opportunities. So what a non-linear here refers to, like, it is not a linear process. We can go to the testing phase, and we can come back to the previous stage, and we can again revise the previous phases, and we can again go to the testing phase. So it is a non-linear phase. We will understand this in later sessions as well. And it is also an iterative process. Back, ma'am. Design thinking also includes the thinking skills or practices designers use to create new ideas and solve problems. So here, new ideas will be created with the help of certain steps. We'll discuss about the steps later and after these slides, and we will try to solve the problems. So here, teachers and students engage in hands-on design challenges that focus on developing empathy. The main focus here is, at first, we develop empathy to the teachers, to the students. The first phase is developing empathy and the promoting a bias towards action. Here, promoting a bias includes, like, everyone should have their own ideas. Everyone should have their own perceptions regarding the problem. So there must be the bias towards the action. And another one is encouraging ideation. We encourage different ideas. For example, we can have more than 10 students, more than 20 students in our classroom. So we can have 20 heads to think and 20 heads to ideate. So we encourage ideation to the students. Developing metacognitive awareness. So it includes the awareness of metacognition, and it also fosters active problem solving. Next slide. So design thinking is a solution-based approach to solving problems. It focuses on solutions, and it is, I already discussed about, it is an iterative process, and it is also a non-linear process. It is also a way of thinking and working. In addition, it is supported by a collection of strategies and methods. Moving to the steps of design thinking, we have broadly five steps of design thinking. The first one is empathizing the problem. The second one is defining the problem. The third one is ideating. Fourth one is prototype. And the fifth one is testing. So before empathy phase, we need to have a broader or abstract problem or area where we want to implement design thinking. For example, when we want to talk about the environment pollution can be the broader abstract problem, and the individual would have different contextual problems in their own area or in their own locality. So the first step after we organize a broader abstract problem, we will go through the empathize phase. The empathize phase, ma'am, next slide. Okay, here I tried to discuss about a non-linear process, and here we can empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test, and we can go from empathize to define. It must not be like a linear from one step to another step. After testing, we can come back to the ideate phase, and we can revise our plan, or we can redefine our problem so that we can have a better solution. Next slide. So the problem, first I already discussed about this. First we need to have a broader abstract problem, and the first phase is to empathize. It can be simply viewed as understanding the users. We will understand the users in this phase, and we will ask about their actual problems, real felt problems as defined by themselves. It includes a series of interviews with the users to gain an understanding of their real needs and to see the problem from their perspective. So we see the problem from the user's perspective here, so that we can define the problem in an appropriate way, and we will have an understanding of their real needs and to see the problem from their perspective. Here, we not only understand our users, but also help our colleagues to understand them and prioritize the needs with the help of empathy map. So during the empathy phase, we can construct the empathy map. So what is empathy map? It is a visualization that articulates what we know about particular type of user. So this map explains the overall data received from the user. So it helps to create a shared understanding of the user needs. So we can have the clear understanding, shared understanding of the user needs, actual felt need, and it also helps in decision making as well. So the first, it does not come again. It does not come in a linear phase. It can be we can write in at first we can write says or says quadrant, or at first we can write in think quadrant. So firstly, and the says quadrant, it contains what the user says and what the user says in the interview. Ideally, it contains verbatim what the participants or what the user actually says in their own way, and also it can be written in the direct quotes. So in the think quadrant, we can capture what the user is thinking about the experience, and like what they are thinking. Is it hard? Is it wasting time, or is it something else? What the user think about the problem. And another quadrant, another quadrant is like it feels what the participant, what the user feels, the user's emotional state. We can ask ourselves that what we can also observe these phenomena, like what we observe by ourselves, what worries the users, what the users get excited about, how does the user feels about the experience. So the last quadrant deals about the does, and the does quadrant encloses the action with the user takes, like what the user does for that particular problem. Is it working or is it not working for them or for her? So this is all about the empathy map. We will discuss briefly about these in the later session, where Rabina ma'am will explain with examples. So another phase is the define phase. Here, the problem is more focused based on the previous interview of the users. We develop insights, define a point of view, and create a problem statement here. And it includes authentic, real problem faced by the users. And from which solutions must be identified. So in the beginning, we created an abstract problem and we created an vague problem, a broader problem. Now, after interviewing with the user, participant or user, after empathizing their needs, we will develop a problem statement, a focused problem here. Another. So after that, there is an ideate phase. Ideating is a critical component of design thinking. So the participants, or we can have a group, or we can have students, they are challenged to brainstorm for a series of ideas. Here, none of the ideas are rejected. There can be the hundreds of ideas. I already mentioned, like there can be, if there is 30 students in a classroom, so we can have 30 ideas. No ideas are rejected. Ideating is all about creativity and fun. So here, quantity is encouraged. Several ideas are encouraged. Students may be asked to generate 100 of ideas. So during this ideation phase, they become silly, they become risk takers, they become wishful thinkers, they become dreamers. They think every possible ways and every impossible ways as well. Here, another slide, ma'am. So after ideating the problem, ideating different ideas, after gaining different ideas from the users, from the participants, from the students, we develop a prototype. It can be developed by synthesizing the ideas generated from the ideate phase. And it is actual creating and building the product happens in this phase. And in this way, to convey the best ideas quickly, here we develop a best solution based on the ideation, based on the different ideation from the previous phase. Next slide. So at last, the testing phase is the part of an iterative process that provides students with feedback. The purpose of testing is to learn what works and what doesn't, and then iterate. And now the prototype that has been developed will be sent to test for the users. And after that, we will get feedbacks. And after that, we analyze what works. We critically reflect what worked well and what didn't work well. And if it didn't work well, we will go back to the previous phase. Either we have to define another problem, or we have to refocus the problem, or we have to develop another prototype that best fit the user. So it can be the iterative process. So this much about the benefits of design thinking. Next, ma'am. So design thinking, students will be able to identify problem and reframe them as actionable opportunities. So here, students construct their own knowledge and they identify their problems, and they create a prototype, they create solutions. And it also fosters innovations and creativity. In ideation, I already mentioned, like in ideation phase, there can be the hundreds of ideas, hundreds of innovations. It fosters creativity. It also helps to understand the value of collaboration and feedback. Since it is a collaborative process, the students works in a collaboration, in a teamwork. So it fosters or it helps to understand the value of collaboration. Now, it also helps to view the setbacks and failures as valuable learning moments. As we discussed, like it is an iterative process, it is non-linear process. So students think setbacks and failures are valuable in learning moments. Another benefit is it helps to develop self-belief as problem solvers, empathize, and entrepreneurial and community-minded behaviors. And at last, it also focuses that is both future and solutions oriented. Another, the cons of the limits of this design thinking is requires heavy involvement from the user participation, and it is a project, and the project duration may be longer if the problem is vague and the focus is on individual or a particular group only. Sometimes we cannot generalize the prototype, that the model that we have developed to other groups of population. So not all the problems can be solved by this approach. So this much for the first agenda. Now I will hand over the floor to Rabina ma'am to explain more about design thinking with example. Thank you.
Thank you, Pritika ma'am, respected sir, and my dear friends. I'm here to present the application of design thinking. Okay, whenever we come across certain problems, so we try to solve it in one or other way, and we always wish for a systematic way of solving problem. Definitely, if we try to solve the problem in a systematic way, it will take less time and it will be hassle free also. Yes, design thinking is such a systematic way of solving problem. As Pritika ma'am has already explained about the theoretical aspect of design thinking, I'm here to present the application of design thinking. Our design thinking journey started with a video sent by our colleagues, Anita ma'am, and with her problems. We try to solve it through design thinking. Let's see her problem through video first, and then we'll talk about how we design the prototype based on design thinking to solve her problem.
Rabina ma'am,
मैम साउंड आए ना
Yeah.
Okay, sound अलिक आएन.
रविना म्याम
एयरफोन लाउनु भएको छ कि नत्र त्यो झिक्दा होला
भिडियो सेपरेट छ भने छुट्टै भिडियो बजाउनु भयो भने आउँथ्यो होला.
While sharing the screen, I think she need to share sound also.
Okay, sound आएन. You might...
I will share the video itself.
Yeah, okay, sure, please. यता साउन्ड यो तपाईको यो साउन्ड अफ छ हेर्नु त साइडमा.
Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
You can revive.
Okay.
Namaste. I'm Anita Sagi, a secondary science teacher teaching in Saraswati Defense Secondary School, Kathmandu, Nepal. Due to ongoing COVID-19 pandemic situation, we have been conducting online classes for our students since last year. Since it is the best alternative for teaching learning process in this adverse situation, we teachers and students both have been following it and accepting it. But the main problem which I have felt is how to evaluate my students fairly, provide them the correct grades and submit it to the school administration. I personally believe in physical written examination, but this is not possible in this pandemic situation. Last year also we conducted online written examination for summative evaluation, but the students, they had not been fair. Most of them had copied from books. They had not been honest. And I realized that it had not been fair for the students who had really been honest, who had really worked hard. So for this year, I'm searching for a better option of my problem. I would be grateful if you could suggest me a better solution to my problem. Because we are still in pandemic situation, and we do not know when it ends. Thank you.
Okay, so this is the video sent by our user or Anta ma'am, who is a secondary level science teacher. So after getting this video, our group member decided to solve the problem through DT. And for that, we have taken a series of interview with Anita ma'am and tried to extract her feelings and her thoughts and her actions, which is the first step of design thinking, as already mentioned by Pritika ma'am, which is called Empathize Phase. Based on the interaction with her, we have created an empathy map. Sorry. Okay, so based on the series of interaction we have done with Anita ma'am, we have created the empathy map. First of all, we have jotted down the things that she has said to us during our interviews. For example, she said that the paper-based test does not work. Student copied from the test and Google in previous online examination, and some students are even out of online classes. They could not appear in the examination, and due to lockdown and due to pandemic, students cannot reach to the school physically also. And what she thinks about this situation, then we captured her thoughts also. Like, she thinks that is assessment more important than learning, and she also thinks that it is difficult to make open book questions. Everybody is talking about open book test in this pandemic situation, but it is really difficult to make open book questions, and our teachers and our friends are not so much used to with it. So she also thinks that is exam really necessary to upgrade students to next class. And we try to capture her feelings also through her gesture, through her facial expression, through her body language. We came to know that she's feeling like she's inadequate in her knowledge of preparing assessment tools in this pandemic situation, and she seems really worried about this also. And we found that she's a little bit frightened about her students' future also, and she's really confused what to do in this situation. And in this situation, she's doing certain activities, like she's comparing assessment systems. She's doing certain research on assessment systems, and she's searching certain website and Google about the students' evaluation. How can she prepare good assessment tools for our students? And she's been in regular contacts with the parents and discuss regarding their academic performance also. So based on this empathy, we have empathized these feelings into certain points. For example, the gist of the empathy maps are due to lockdown, physical written examination is not possible, and due to authority, since during the interview she also said that the authority of the school has left the decision of making assessment to the subject teachers. So it is subject teachers' responsibility to carry out the assessment now onward. And she also shared us that previous online written examination have bitter experiences. Most of the students have copied from the note copy, textbook, and Google. So it is a bitter experience for her. And students cannot be promoted without evaluation. That is also the fact of our Nepalese education system. And she's in the state of confusion for the type of assessment to be used. And again, she's expecting some convincing and trustworthy evaluation. So after empathizing with her through series of interviews, we have extracted her feelings, we have extracted her thought process, and we came to the conclusion of defining the real problem, which goes like she wants a trustworthy, reliable, and valid evaluation system. is required in order to evaluate students and promote them to higher classes. Examination are necessary and the condition is not favorable, but still we need trustworthy, reliable and valid evaluation system for our students. So this is the stage where we define the real problem. After this, our group members have a series of meetings, and we have generated certain ideas of such as prioritizing formative assessment. Okay, while generating ideas for Anita ma'am, our user, we also realized that this ideas that we have generated during this ideate stage are not only suitable for Anita ma'am, but to all the teacher, and not only in this pandemic time, to in our education system in general, because we are in the need of revolution in our assessment system. We educator do realize that whatever assessment system we have been doing is not the exact way how we should assess our students. So we believe that these ideas will be useful not only to Anita ma'am, but also to all the teachers. And so these are our ideas. First of all, we have generated the ideas of prioritizing the formative assessment, where students are given assignment time and again during the academic session, and they will be given feedbacks and time to revise the assignment. This will help them improve themselves and grow. So this one is the primary ideas that we have generated. And next idea is conducting open book test. Everybody is talking about open book test, but in context of Nepal, open book test seems a little bit challenging, because we are not used to with the question that open book test actually demands. But still we have given these ideas for this problem. And using online tools to conduct examination is another idea that we have generated. We have decided to suggest our user to use the online tools that can be timed and that can be given feedbacks in a real time, so that the chances of cheating can be minimized and students can be tested or assessed in real time sessions. And another ideas that we have generated is we can evaluate our students based on their presentation and demonstration. We can give them certain project work, certain hands-on activities, and let them present and let them demonstrate. On the basis of that also we can evaluate our students. And another is self-assessment and assessment by parents. So this seems a little bit new in context of Nepalese education system. Assessment of student by the student and assessment of student by the parents. So we will talk about this in detail in our prototype. And next is viva voce or oral test in the online session, or now we can call students with the keeping the physical distance, social distance also. We can call one by one to the school, and we can take the viva voce or oral test. So these are the ideas that we have generated for the problem. And based on these ideas, we have designed a prototype, and that is a detailed evaluation framework along with sample assessment tools, and which goes like this. Evaluation, we have made an evaluation framework as a prototype, which is presented in here in the form of a table. So we will generally evaluate our students in the total marks 100. So the 100 marks will be divided as class regularity and punctuality 10 marks, project work 10 marks, class performance 10 marks, viva 10 marks, and open book test will carry 40 marks, self-assessment will carry 10 marks, and assessment by parents will carry 10 marks. Since our user is a little bit confused and she feels inadequate in case of designing this type of assessment tools, we have also suggested her some sample assessment tools also, which I'm going to share now. So this is the detailed plan that we have presented to our user Anita ma'am. So we have written all our plan in detail here. I have already mentioned the Empathize Phase, define ideate stage, and prototype also. We have presented an evaluation framework as a prototype to our user, and here I am going to present some sample project work, sample assessment tools that can be used to assess the students. For example, a project work that carry 10 marks in our framework can be given in the form of project work, in the form of some model making. For example, we have given certain example. Number one, like visit your farm, garden, observe plants and methods of artificial vegetative propagation that takes place in different plants, and prepare a report on your own. So this type of activities will let our students come out of their house and come out of their textbook and do something on their own, and they will learn how to observe, how to write the methods, and how to conclude their work, and how to document all this process. So this type of project work can be given to our students, and certain other examples also we have presented to our user group, but I will not go in detail. Similarly, we have also suggested her certain Viva question in case she feels difficult on that part also. She may consider this question, sample question for the oral or Viva examination. So and again, we have also designed some questions for open book test also, since she thinks that making open book test question is not her cup of tea, and it seems little bit difficult. She is not used to with it. We have made open book test question, sample open book test question for physics, biology, and chemistry, and also for astronomy. I will not go in detail about all the questions, but I will go one example. Like whenever we are designing the questions for open book test, we have to think in mind that we are not demanding the answers that are available in our textbooks. We should make the open book test in such a way that the students cannot copy them from the textbook or the notes given by the teachers, or from online sources. We should design the question in such a way that along with the knowledge that he or she has studied in the textbook, he or she should be challenged to write on their own thoughts, and they have to create something on their own. So that will do the justice of the open book test. For example, we have suggested one question for the astronomy section, that you are in a time machine which can take you back to the Mesozoic era. Write a paragraph about your experience, including the type of animals and plants you saw and the weather you felt during that time. Of course, the question here demands the events that took place in Mesozoic era, but that only will not be enough for this question, because this question demands the events that took place in the Mesozoic era. But along with that, this question is also demanding certain type of imagination and creative writing from the students. And the students have to go to the fantasy land, and they have to imagine as if they are in the real Mesozoic era. Of course, the events that took place in the Mesozoic era is given in the book, and they have got book at their home. But just to copy those events will not be enough for this question. This type of questions will foster the creativity and problem solving activity, problem solving skills in our students. So we have presented certain this type of open book questions for our user. And again, we have also given 10 marks for the self-evaluation and assessment tool for the students. We believe that since the students students are in at the school, at the home these days during this pandemic time. They are not coming to the school. So we believe that they should have right to assess themselves. They should have right to evaluate themselves. This type of self-evaluation and self-assessment not only give them certain marks, but also foster the habit of self-reflection, and they will learn their weaknesses and strength, and they will try to improve their weaknesses. So we believe in that principle, and that's why we have developed a self-evaluation assessment also, which covers the statements such as activities or statements such as I participate during classroom discussion. The student will evaluate themselves whether I always participate in the classroom discussion. If yes, then he or she will give him or herself 2 marks. If sometimes 1 marks, or if never, 0 marks. So similarly, he or she will evaluate himself as on the basis of my assignment are neat, organized, and submit on time. So similarly, am I respectful to my classmates and my teachers during the classes? On the basis of that also, they will evaluate themselves. And similarly, I take notes of class material and reading assignments. Since we are having online classes, we don't know whether the students are taking notes or not. We have been teaching staying in our room, and they are learning staying in their room. We can't see them. So they will evaluate themselves whether they are taking the class notes or not. So on the basis of that also, they will evaluate themselves. And similarly, I apply learned knowledge to my daily life. Okay, we have been reading lots of good things in our textbook, but whether I am using it in our daily life or not, on the basis of that also, they will evaluate themselves. Similarly, I prepare for my class beforehand by reading related topic and chapters. And similarly, I feel safe and supported in my classroom. On the basis of that also, they will evaluate themselves. Similarly, I search for additional learning material in other sources such as internet other than regular class material. I express my thinking clearly and concisely in classroom. So this way they will read this statement and reflect themselves and give the marks themselves. And they will realize that I'm very bad on this. I never do this. I should do this like this, So this will help them to improve themselves also. And another sample we have developed is parent evaluation assessment. And this one is also especially developed, we thought especially it is needed in this pandemic situation, since the students are staying with the parents all the time these days. They are not coming school. The parents are taking care of them, and they are absorbing them. They are they are absorbing their study, their activities, and everything. So parents also should be the part of evaluation system. Thinking that we have developed this parent evaluation or assessment tools, and we took care of that. All the parents may not be able to evaluate our students in their academic portion, but of course the parents can be able to evaluate on the basis of on the behavior aspect of students. And the statement or the activities that we have kept in the parents assessment tools are: he or she helps in household chores whenever necessary. If the students does it always, then the parents will give 2 marks. If sometimes, then 1 marks. If never, then 0 marks. So this type of criteria we have created. Similarly, he or she uses the internet for academic purpose only. The only complaint we have been getting from our parents is that our students are not using our internet for the sake of academic purpose only, but beyond. That's why we have kept this criteria also. On the basis of this also, the student will get the marks. So the next criteria is he or she is respectful to the family family members. He or she clean his or her room by herself. He or she applies learned knowledge in his or her daily lives. This one is very important. They are studying very good in the academic portion, but when the application when they have to apply in the real context, they have been being little bit weaker in that sense. For example, we have had example in past also that the students who get the very good marks in the social studies are not being social whenever there are guests in our home and in the society. So application of the learned knowledge is very important, and we have taken this as a criteria for the parents evaluation. And he or she stays at home during this lockdown or pandemic time. Okay, so this is the situation where we are not allowed to go out whenever we want, but our students are not taking care of this. They may visit their nearby friends and they may go here and there. So on the basis of that also, parents will evaluate them, and he or she spends some time to fulfill his or her hobbies. Fulfilling hobbies is also one of the very important aspect of child development. That's why this is also one of the criteria that we have taken care of taken care while making this assessment tool. Similarly, he or she shows the positive attitude towards life, family, and society. The positivity is the key of success in life. So we have to instill this attitude from the childhood. That's why this can be one of the criteria in evaluating the behavior aspect of the students, and so on. We have made the assessment tools for parents like this, and we have also made the rubrics or assessment tool for class performance also. And this the criteria or the activities or statement that we have presented here can be made in collaboration of the students. The teacher can collaborate with the students, can have a meeting in order to put these criteria, these rubrics that will develop a kind of ownership to the students, that this one is made by us, so we have to take care of them. That type of feelings may develop in them. Or the teacher can develop on herself also. We have covered the criteria such as appears or attends class on time. So since the online classes, it's been so some students are entering the class very late. So on the coming to the class and attending class on time and staying full time is also is also a very important aspect. So this one we have considered here. If he or she come to class on time always, and they will have 2 marks. If sometimes 1 marks, if never, 0 marks. Similarly, they will be assessed on the basis of their demonstration of clear understanding on the subject matter. After the class, whenever we do circle time and summarizing the lesson, we can see whether the students has developed the clear concept or clear understanding the things we have taught or not. So on the basis of that also, we can evaluate our students. Active participation is another bigger aspect of class performance, so we have considered this aspect also. And study or participate in activities in accordance with instruction, whether the students follow instruction given by the teachers or not, whether they do whatever they want or follow the instruction. So this one is another aspect. Demonstrate positive attitude in classroom. Sometimes we see the students who are very negative in their attitude, and that is not good for the academic health. So we consider this positive attitude in the classroom another criteria for classroom performance, and he or she is able to express his or her emotion effectively or not. And able to cooperate his or her classmates, since cooperation, collaboration has been the 21st century skills. This skills is necessary for the overall growth of the child. So we have considered this aspect of also, and submitting assignment on time. And like this, we have made assessment tools for classroom performance also. This way, we have made certain sample assessment tools and we have given it to our user, or Anita ma'am, and she's in the process of testing it, using it, and the feedbacks are yet to come. And once she gives us the feedbacks, we will definitely work in this project once again. These are our references. Thank you, sir. That much. Thank you. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Thank you so much, Ravina ma'am and Pritika ma'am. We have few questions in the chat box. The first question has been asked by Sachita Suwal, right? She has asked that how do you monitor students while having the online classes and online assessment? Pritika ma'am, would you like to answer this question? Yeah.
Okay, I have already mentioned. Thank you for the question. And before Ravina ma'am presented for the prototype, and she asked for those questions, I think the prototype part already addressed those questions. Like we can have like scales, rubrics for assessing students. We can have open book exams. We can have other alternative forms. We just not rely on summative evaluation, because since many years, since it is a trend, like we always rely on summative evaluation. But once we prioritize formative evaluation, that would not be assessment would not be the problem. Thank you. I think I addressed.
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. Now we have another query from Indramani Dakal. Can this method help in solving the problems for teaching mathematics? I think this question has been asked during that sharing of Ravina ma'am. Ravina ma'am, do you want to share?
Okay, thank you for the question. Of course, DT can be used as a problem solver, not only in science, but also in all the subjects, not only in the academic questions, but in our daily life also, while planning for our, academic session, and in our personal life also, DT can be a great help in solving the problems. I believe so, sir.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
In that case, for example, in the science, we can relate them to their real life experience, and in the case of mathematics, putting them in on the open book exam, as the problem of Anita ma'am, that this is more felt in the mathematics, and would not even figure out which one is of which student, that they will convey each other the same answers they write within the class. So, can we keep some of those, or can you give some of the examples that we can put in the open book exam for the mathematics that they could not copy from the friends?
Yes,
Okay.
they can do. Can I say something here? They can
Sure,
do.
sir.
We can create a composite problem, and we can create parallel sets which cannot be found in the textbook. So in that case, or we can find a problem that provide multiple solutions, such as giving options in a structured problem. Like we can present a situation and then we can ask, they can solve the problem. We can give a situation and then we can ask multiple problems from there. From that perspective, students will be not just given one set of problem, but different students are given different problems. Okay? That can be done. At some stage, I think some of the friends, I think also sir will make presentations at some stage. Okay. So yeah. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, sir. I think we have one more query from Subhas Majiji. He asks, can we integrate design thinking with ICT technology in teaching and learning at school, and how we can do it? Would love to answer.
Okay, yeah, thank you for the question. As I have already mentioned, is design thinking, design thinking process is not limited to solving problem in the science, but in general, we can use this as this process as a problem solver. So definitely, ICT in ICT section also we can integrate. Since I may not be able to answer how can we integrate, in a short period of time, because design thinking is a little bit longer process. We have to sit and we have to empathize the problem. We have to define the problem and ideate, and based on those ideas we will develop the prototype. So in a short period of time we may not be able to give you the answer, but if you really want the answer, we will definitely work on this. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, ma'am. Sure.
Thank you, ma'am. We have another query from our Dr. Kutoshi, and he has written that it's very interesting presentation. Yes, the tools you have developed for online assessment are very useful, but at the same time, these are very challenging ones. For example, assessing a student showing a positive attitude in the classroom of more than 50 and observing the student while you are teaching online seems very challenging. So how do you manage it?
Okay, thank you. I think I tried to respond this question. And while assessing a student, I think we do not assess them from only one class. We have to assess them from series of classes or from several classes. So we observe students for their active participation, for their other activities as well in the classes. So I think day to day, a teacher would be familiar with the students in the series of classes. So I think it would be challenging, but it can be possible. Thank you. With the series of classes and with series of interactions with the students. Thank you.
I want to add a little more on this. But in order to, understand our students, we have to change our teaching learning process also. If we teach in a conventional way based on textbook, then definitely we will not have time to understand our students. We have to make our classroom interactive so that the students speak out, and then we can know we can know their feelings and perspective towards the things that we are teaching. So this way, the more we interact with our student, the more we will know them, and the more it will be easy to evaluate their attitudes, sir. Yes.
Thank you so much, Ravina ma'am and Pritika ma'am. So dear participants, there is attendance link in the chat box. Please do your attendance for the day. And this is the first day of this webinar series. And after participating in 6 to 7 webinar series, you will be getting certificates from the university. So please fill up that form, and you will be enrolled for the webinar series. So any further queries or concern regarding the design thinking and other things? If you do not have any queries or concern, maybe you can appreciate our presenters by writing a cert, appreciation note, or maybe thank you note in the chat box. Let's motivate them. All right.
Let me tell you something.
Yes, sir.
About it. It's a very good presentation. I wrote something there, but suddenly my internet went off. Then I again joined. Maybe my comments there erased. I don't know what I was talking about. You see, is that the first part you presented the theoretical perspective by Pritika ji, and the second part was very much the practical on the classroom assessment problem. So you covered basically all the so-called steps. I said those 5 steps that you are talking about from the empathy to the testing, right? There are so many other steps that you can find in the literature about this design thinking. You covered it very, very well. And then I also tried to remind you is that further I think you will be successful in linking this design thinking with critical realism and the revised Bloom's taxonomy, which is very, very much important talking about design thinking. So congratulations to the group, and especially to the presenters, Pratika ji and Ravina ji, as well as the MC for today, Sarita ji. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
This
so
means
much.
a lot to us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Any further queries or concern? The floor is open for every one of you. You can write in a chat box. Okay. We have one query from Pratima Tapalia ji. I think this is a query. In open book question session, you include which characteristic of the earth made life possible in it. Write any two characteristics. I think it can measure the cognitive aspect, so need to elaborate it for measuring the effective paths that helps to reflect the learner's creativity as well. Okay, thank you so much. This is much more feedback. All right. So I don't see any further queries and concern. So we are almost at the end of the session. So as you know that the webinar series has started from today itself. So we would be happy if you would share and invite your friends and other teachers to be a part in this type of webinar from the next Saturday. And in upcoming days as well, we will be conducting a series of webinar, and this way we can communicate to the community and give the contribution. So now I'd like to hand over this platform to our Assistant Professor Binod Prasad Panta for his closing remark, and then we'll end our program. Over to you, Binod, sir.
Okay, thank you, Sarita ma'am. Thank you for running these sessions smoothly. And then, so first of all, I would like to thank two presenters, Pritika ma'am and then Ravina ma'am, and for bringing the very wonderful ideas with lots of example. So I should thank to all the participants. So especially you can see our very senior Professor Mona sir, even Bal sir, and even some participants from abroad, and then they have joined to give a kind of confidence to all of us very young presenter. So just to the end, I have seen several questions in the chat as well, because this design thinking, so one of the purpose is to break our disciplinary boundaries, because we all come from different disciplines such as mathematics, science, technology, and the language, this and that. But the problem in these days are very complex, and then we should not see the solution from particular disciplinary mindset. For example, if my background is technology, and then I always try to see the solutions from technological driven solutions. If my background is science, then I always believe on this the scientific ways of knowing or explaining every problem from science. But we should think that the problem is very complex, and it is very difficult to solve a problem from particular one discipline. So I think that is the one that we should think, we should keep in our mind. And the next one, it's not only the analytical thinking, that the problems cannot be solved with only logics and analysis. So it can be solved through our intuition as well. So that in design thinking, so you just go into the process, and then you are not you cannot say what will be your solutions. Because in most conventional analytical thinking, normally we can make a sense of problems as well, or the sense of solutions at the beginning. So as that Ravina ma'am has clearly articulated the examples, so this is the group task, then users should be at the center. So this is what we call, this is not expert made solutions. So in a conventional manner, so we ask to the expert, so what will be the solutions, please tell us, because you know the everything. Then you have read several books and then several papers, so you are in the authority that you will just share the solutions. But this is a practitioner developed solutions, because in this solution seeking approach, so we as a practitioner should involve into the process. So we always keep user at the center. And then normally people call that the solutions that you derive from design thinking is always temporary. It's not the permanent, because it keeps on changing. So if you are in the new situations, then you may get better solutions in the next cycle. So thank you for bringing those issues. So some of the friends are asking whether this is possible in other areas or not. So this is not only the possible in academia, this is also possible in other areas as well. Because if you see this so-called big, let's say, industry or then product company, so they will always hire people who can work in design thinking, and then that has been done. So thank you so much, and then we'll send you email, and then we'll also send you the link for the another series, and then we hope that you will participate in every Saturday, and then there will be another presentations in another stream. So thank you so much. Thank you for your great presence.
Sarita, I think Dr. Kudusi has raised the hand.
Yeah, over to you, Dr. Kudusi. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. First of all, I am so humble to hear from you all great people of the Kusud. I am so thankful to my supervisor, my Guruji Bal Chandra Little, and Dr. Wagle sir, and my colleagues Binod and other colleagues Indra sir, and all of you. Today, really, you reminded me the time of Kusud when I was there some couple of years before, 2013 to 16. So this wonderful community is indeed contributing not only at the national level in Nepal, but beyond the boundaries of Nepal. So that's how you STEAM education and all this kind of engagement, very productive engagement, is coming out of your productive collaboration with each other. So the two wonderful presenters, Pritika ji and Rabina ji, has excellently presented their ideas on the issues of online teaching, learning, and assessment, and with the specific standpoint of design thinking. So really, that's a very interesting one. As Wagle sir talked about the issues of internet, and because of that, the problem, they disappeared and could not post the written comment. So this happens to almost every second student with the online teaching, learning, and engagement. For example, when we ask a question from a student, though the learner is appearing on the screen, he is in the classroom. But when you, in the meanwhile teaching, ask a question from the student, you will not get the answer, because that person has just opened the ID and engaged with some other task at home or somewhere else. So this happens. And in such a challenging situations, assessing a student's very positive attitude towards learning, engaging in the classroom activities seems to be very challenging. This is one of the examples. However, there are many examples of the online teaching, learning, and assessment. So we need to think about alternatives. As Binod sir talked about, you two people have worked very, very interestingly on this particular topic. So Rabina ji and Pritika ji know very well. You have done a wonderful job. So you can come up with alternatives. You can come up with think about other ways of engaging student, how productively we can engage a learner in online teaching, learning, and activities. So we all should think about all these out of the box solutions to the problems. The problems is not only in developing countries like Nepal, Pakistan, and other countries, but also this online teaching, learning, and assessment is a problem of the developed countries as well. So we need to think about so how those people in developed world with the advanced technological innovation and the facilities handle these kind of problems, and what we people in developing world are facing these challenges. So we need to think about these kind of the things as well. So anyhow, I enjoyed a lot, and I am so grateful to all of you once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kutoshi, for your warm words and your feedback. So we are at the end of the session. I would love to thank all of you for your valuable presence and participation. Due to time limitation, we are not able to take everyone's feedback. But however, we will meet in another week as well, and you can watch our videos in our YouTube channel. You can be connected with us in our Facebook through the Kusot Facebook page, and see you next week at the same time. And the session would be much more insightful and relevant. And definitely, this is a community of a teacher and by the teacher, and it's for the teacher. With this end note, I would love to conclude this session. Thank you, all of you, and have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Purna
I
sir,
think,
sir.
Night.
I think you can stop recording now, I think. Thank you, Sarita ma'am. Well done.
Thank you, sir.